Hey everyone, Nick here and welcome back to GamerTube, the home of Let's Plays, concept videos, discussions, trailer reactions, and a whole bunch more. But more specifically, welcome back to our Little Nightmares character concept series. So for today's concept character, we'll be looking into the creature. So we'll be going into their location, their gameplay mechanics, and all that good stuff as well. Once again, today's character was drawn by myself, so I hope you all enjoy. As always, we will just state that we don't expect Bandai Namco or Tarsier Studios to really do anything with these character designs. These are just typically our own ideas and our own cool stories that we get to tell, and we hope you guys like them. And lastly, before we start today's video, if you could please consider leaving a like and commenting, as it does help out a lot and it is greatly appreciated. Also, do be sure to subscribe to GamerTube so you don't miss out on our future uploads. Also, be sure to stay tuned as we will be doing a subscriber-only live stream where me and the community will make our own custom character, so stay tuned for that. Alrighty, well, let's get into the creature. So we start off with the main character, the Trouble Child. We see them floating down a small stream in the swamps of the wilderness. The Trouble Child has made themselves a small wooden boat and set off to find a new place to live. After dealing with the maid and the exterminator in the owner's mansion, they finally decided to live a peaceful life alone in the wilderness. As they drift down the stream, they come across an old fishing wharf. There's an old rickety looking wooden wharf that leads out to shore. Out on the shore, there's an old little fishing shack. The place looks deserted. The Trouble Child wonders if there's anyone around or if there's anyone that lives there. As they grab their oar to start steering the boat, they see some movement in the water. A couple of bubbles break the surface of the murky water. They then see a large shadow swim underneath the boat. Then all of a sudden, something strikes the bottom of the boat and launches it into the air. The Trouble Child has fallen into the water as their boat is now destroyed as pieces of splintered wood float in the water. The Trouble Child has to quickly make a break for the old fishing wharf before whatever attacked the boat attacks them. In this gameplay segment, the player would need to get out of the water before this mysterious individual pulls them underneath. In the water would be multiple large lily pads that could support the child's weight. The player would have to swim from lily pad to lily pad and avoid being attacked. If this strange shadowy figure does get a hold of the player, it would grab them and drag them underneath the murky dark water. After swimming from pad to pad avoiding the shadowy figure, they finally make it to the rickety old wharf. They walk down the wharf and try to get to the safety of the old shack. As they make their way to the shack, they see the shadowy figure emerge from the water. The Trouble Child quickly hides as not to get spotted. They get a better look at this sinister looking figure and it's revealed to be the creature. The creature is a grotesque looking character that appears to be more animalistic in appearance. They have a frightening looking mouth and teeth and webbed hands and feet. As they're crawling out of the water and approaching the shore, they appear to have caught a fish. They drop their freshly caught fish into a pile of other dead fish on the shore. The creature looks around for this little intruder that they attacked in the water and see no sign of them. Since the coast is clear, the creature enters the water once again and swims away. After a few minutes, the Trouble Child exits their hiding spot and continues to go check out the little shack. When they approach the shack, they also see a large gate door that leads further into the wilderness. The whole area near the shore has been fenced off, and the only way to get out of this dangerous area and escape this creature is through this gate. Unfortunately, the gate is locked with 3 large metal bars. The locks look to be electronic and there's 3 wires leading off in 3 different directions. One of the wires is leading into the shack. So the Trouble Child decides to go investigate and see if they can activate this lock from the inside of the shack. As they enter the shack, they look around at all the fishing nets and spears hanging up on the walls. In the corner of the shack, they see what looks to be an old generator. And the wire from the gate is connected to it. On the front of this generator is an old crank. It seems the generator has to be manually charged up to supply power to the lock. The player would start to turn the crank until they hear the buzz of the first lock activate and slide open. As they turn around to exit the shack, the creature breaks through the window and crawls in. the player would quickly have to hide and avoid being found. It appears that the loud buzz from the lock has attracted the frightening creature. In this gameplay segment, the player would have to make their way towards the door and avoid being seen by the creature. The player could hide behind boxes or piles of fishing equipment. If they do get spotted by the creature, they would immediately attack them and eat the player as the screen fades to black. Once the player has successfully evaded the creature, they would set out to find the other generators. They can see the second generator, but unfortunately it's floating in the middle of the water on a floating pontoon. The wire is suspended above the water and it looks safe enough to traverse and avoid getting into the water. In this gameplay segment, the player would have to tightrope walk on the wires whilst also keeping an eye on the water below. Whilst they are also keeping their balance, they also have to keep an eye out for the creature. The player could pay attention to the water beneath them and look out for any bubbles. When they see these bubbles, they have to quickly pick up the pace and move before the creature pops out of the water and grabs them. This would be quite a tense gameplay segment, and the player would have to focus on their balancing to not fall off, whilst also avoiding the attacks from the creature. Once they've reached the pontoon, they have to quickly use the crank and charge up the generator. As they do this, the player would have to stop and dodge oncoming attacks. When they dodge an attack, they quickly have to rush back and charge up the generator again. So the player would have to be juggling, dodging, and activating the generator as well. Once the second lock is activated, the Trouble Child climbs the wire and makes their way back to the shore. With a little more exploring, the Trouble Child finally locates the third and final generator. This generator is stuck up in the branches of a large tree. The Trouble Child has to climb the tree and activate it. As they climb the tree, they need to be careful not to grab the wrong wooden panels, as some of them are old and rotten and can break off easily. Once they've safely reached the generator, they activate it and the third and final lock has been released. As the Trouble Child climbs down from the tree and makes their way to the gate, the creature bursts out of the water and chases after them. The child quickly makes their way through the gate as the creature furiously follows after them. In this gameplay segment, the player would have to run through the wilderness and traverse all the obstacles and avoid the traps that have been laid there by someone other than the creature. Whilst the player makes their way through the wilderness avoiding the traps and the creature, they come across an old looking cabin in the middle of the woods. They quickly run onto the front porch and through the front door. They lock the door as the creature tries to claw their way in. After a while, they stop and try to find another way inside. The Trouble Child now finds themselves in the kitchen of this large cabin. As they explore the cabin, they look for a safe way to escape. They head upstairs and find themselves in a small room. Outside, they can hear what sounds to be two individuals talking. They look out the window and see the creature communicating with another shadowy character. As they peer through the window and get a better view, it is revealed to be none other than the Hunter. The Hunter and the creature seem to be communicating. It almost seems that the Hunter is in charge of the creature. They order them to circle around and find the intruder while the Hunter goes the other way. After seeing this interaction, the Trouble Child heads back downstairs and tries to find another way out before these two menacing characters can get a hold of them. They eventually find themselves in a strange looking room with multiple creatures hanging from the walls. They can finally see the back door. As they approach it, all of a sudden a hand grabs them. The creature has quietly snuck up behind them and snatched up the Trouble Child. The creature holds them tightly in their hand. Just as they pull them closer to their face to eat the poor captured child, they hear a loud bang. The creature's grip loosens as they fall to the floor. The Trouble Child looks up and sees the Hunter holding their gun. They stopped you from getting eaten, but why? The Hunter stares at the Trouble Child in shock. It's almost like they were protecting the child and couldn't allow the creature to eat them. They both stand there as they stare at each other for a moment. the hunter doesn't approach them, they just stare. The child slowly backs up as they exit through the door. They walk back out into the wilderness when they hear a sudden sound. Out of nowhere, they are caught up in a net and suspended from a tree. The hunter walks out and approaches the trouble child. Once again, the hunter doesn't attack them. As they both look at each other, the child feels a connection to this individual that they've never felt with anyone else before. The hunter cuts them out of the net and holds the child in their hand. The trouble child finally realizes who this character is. More importantly, the trouble child finally realizes who they are themselves.
Alrighty everyone, that's all we have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider leaving a like and commenting as it helps out a lot and it's greatly appreciated. Also, do be sure to subscribe to GamerTube so you don't miss out on any of our future uploads. Also, do be sure to keep an eye out for our subscriber-only live stream where me and the community will be making our own Little Nightmares character, so keep an eye out for that. And as always, make sure you leave a comment down below what you thought of today's character and what you'd like to see going forward in Little Nightmares. Alrighty everyone, well, until the next video, I'll catch you later, bye.